small cap universe. But let's put the focus on consumer durables now. The GST era has well and truly begun. While India Inc. welcomes the transformational tax reform, teething troubles mar the rollout on the first 2 days. To give us a management view, joining us on the show is Mr. Thiagarajan. He's Managing Director at Blue Star. Thank you so much, Mr. Thiagarajan, for joining in. Let's get in your view from a consumer durables name. First of all, take us, Mr. Thiagarajan, you're audible to us. Is my voice reaching you?
It is reaching me.
All right, so let's start off with the kind of inventory impact that we have seen, Mr. Thiagarajan, especially in context of the run-up to the GST. Has there been some very big discounts that your distributors and channels have had to offer? What's the kind of inventory level that we are seeing now? What's the kind of wind down that you've seen? And post the implementation, are we likely to see any pricing impact going ahead from here?
Good morning. Thank you for talking to me. June was a month where the secondary sales was exceedingly good. I think they all had a record sales during June. And we have seen discounts, but I don't think the discounts were something like 50-60% as the media talked about. Normally between the MRP and the operating prices there would have been a difference of something like 14% or so, and additional 3-4% discount was there, so we could see around 20% discount happening, which means that there was an additional discount of some 4 to 5% would have happened during the month of June. And having said that, 1-year-old stock where there were material lying with some of the dealers, that would have got sold out at 25-30% discount or so. So the secondary sale was very good. Primary sales, we could match something like last year's level. I think industry also would have somewhat seen last year level being reached as against a growth of something like 10-15% what one would have expected. So on the whole, the Q1, I think the market would have been either flat or a marginal growth of somewhere around 7.5-8%. That's what I estimate as of now. The figures are yet to be known. I don't think the market would have grown to the tune of around 15-20% as normally we would have expected it to. And post GST, I think July will see some movement in the primary sales. August, September should be gaining momentum. By festival season, I think the sales should get back to good growth like last year. And you asked about the prices. I do not think the prices are going to go up, but the market forces will eventually determine whether the prices are supposed to be coming down. It all depends on what is the supply chain efficiency that is supposed to happen. I can for sure assess at this point of a time there is no price rise that is going to be there unless and until commodity prices or exchange rates are going to go up significantly. For Q2, I see the prices to be stable, and if supply chain efficiency some competitors achieve, the prices may come down.
Right. Mr. Thiagarajan, on a whole year basis, how do you expect this GST implementation to impact the bottom line? Is there any meaningful impact at all? And if yes, if you could, and I understand this question could be a little premature in nature, but any internal numbers that you have worked around as to what the bottom line impact overall for the fiscal could be?
Our assumption at the beginning of the year was the market should be growing by at least 15%, and we thought we should grow by around 20%. As of now, I will not change the year-end estimates at all. Still there is a potential possibility that the market will grow by 15%. there are a few things to remember here. One is that GST is done. Now it is a question of players settling down to the new reality, including its stakeholders like the distribution channel complete put together and the vendors who supply us the materials. And I am of the view that the market will be back to normal doing the business from festival season, as I told you. In the month of January, that is January 1, 2018, we are going to have a energy label change, which means new products will get introduced. And I think inverter air conditioners share in the total pie will be much higher. So therefore, there will be certain realignment of prices that will take place. I am able to foresee consumer as a major beneficiary in terms of energy efficiency as well as the prices. Going forward, the prices should be becoming much more competitive, and it is for the players to ensure that they are protecting the margins that they have to achieve by building scale and building internal supply chain efficiency, and perhaps sourcing and certain realignment. Like for example, I think domestic manufacture will go up further. And so one will begin to focus very soon on the energy label change, and then subsequently for the next summer. And having said all this, the room air conditioners market is going to be darling of the consumer durables for the simple reason the penetration levels are still very poor. It is somewhere around 4-5%, and there is much more market growth which we are going to witness in the coming years.
Right, Mr. Thiagarajan, take us through, you said that these discounts were not as big as certain media channels or newspapers were portraying them to be. So obviously the quantum was lesser in your view. Can you take us through, have you had to compensate your distributors, your channels for these discounts that were undertaken in the run-up to GST implementation? Could there be a one-time impact that we could see on the P&L in this quarter's reporting?
Yes, one clarification, most of the media reports were about consumer durables as a whole. My comment was related to air conditioners, that's about all. It is quite likely that in certain other categories like televisions or washing machines or refrigerators, the discounts could have been much more. I have no knowledge on that. Air conditioners, the additional discounting would have been in the order of around 5% in case of inventory which is less than 1 year old. If it is more than 1 year old, it could have been as high as 20-25%. Now, as far as the channels are concerned, we were one of the early players to confirm and commit that any erosion of margins due to GST transition will be borne by us, which means there is an excise duty burnout if it would have been there. In our case, more than 75% of the inventory was sold from excisable warehouses, which means the invoices would have categorically indicated the excise duty quantum paid. And the balance where the invoice did not have, we had agreed to compensate that. And therefore, to that extent, the dealers' margin were completely protected. I do not think the dealers would have foregone anything from their margins. If they had held inventory more than 1 year old also, we had said that we will try and compensate to the extent possible. But on the whole, our margin outlook again for the full year remains unaltered actually. I think we will be able to make up for any discounts that we would have given now during the course of the year. There is nothing to worry about it at all.
But in this quarter, there will be, I mean, to whatever nominal extent that you're mentioning, there will be an impact in this quarter, right? The
figures are yet to be known, but the sense that I have got is quite a few of our businesses, like for example MEP projects, the electromechanical project segment did extremely well because of the transition. The customers wanted us to deliver the material and go ahead and execute. Our service business did extremely well, and the room air conditioners business also had grown, but not to the extent one which one would have anticipated. Commercial refrigeration products like deep freezers, water coolers, cold rooms, they all did well. They were not much impacted by the GST transition or so. So therefore, the figures are not known, but contrary to the fear I had that whether it will be a huge degrowth and all that, that was not true. In any case, we are all witnessing this for the first time, such a big transition. I think it has gone on smoothly. It is for us to now focus and see that how we will get back to normal.
Right. About the monsoon, Mr. Thiagarajan, how has it been? I mean, does early onset of monsoon impact you? Because if you take a look at the year-on-year comparison period as well, last year also was a bumper monsoon quarter and a bumper monsoon period. So how are you seeing numbers pan out? I mean, for April and May, the sales numbers have been good. Do you think that after this anomalous GST one-time impact, whatever inventory wind down has happened, in consonance with the impact of the monsoon, will probably net off one for the other, and thereby you are holding on to the volume guidance?
Not exactly. We need to look at the big trends that are happening. So analytics helps in a very big way. Earlier, if you take 5 years ago, the peak months used to be April, May, June, July, like that. And then it shifted to somewhat March. Nowadays, I see the peak is happening in March and April rather than April, May, June. And therefore, the total market demand itself, people are beginning to purchase much ahead rather than waiting for the peak summer. So March and April are the peak months is a reality if I go by the numbers. The second thing is that festival season purchases are going up very significantly. So therefore, the skew of June, July being peak is no longer true. So therefore, monsoon getting set in the first week of June early, that's not affecting us at all. The marketeers have to focus on how to maximize the sales in the month of March and in the month of April. This is the first trend I am telling you. The second trend very significantly is when we say the market growth is 15%, the lower middle class or the middle class and upper middle class, their growth rates are completely different. I am of the opinion lower middle class and middle class consumption of air conditioner, or if you take a growth, it would have been 25-30%. It is not the upper class and the rich that is growing significantly at all. That population itself is limited and that growth is not. So if you are focusing on this, it is the tier 3, 4, 5 towns. If good monsoon is there, you are going to have remarkably superior festival season going forward. So therefore, as a company, we welcome good monsoon, at the same time good summer somewhere in the month of March and April. We are reorienting ourselves to this particular thing.
All right, Mr. Thiagarajan, on that optimistic note, we are going to leave it at that. But thank you so much for sparing the time for being with us on the first working day after GST has been implemented, to give us a sense of how your distribution and channels are working with and trying to comply with this new implementation, and how does the volume growth and outlook also look like from here on. Is there or not likely to be any financial or monetary impact in the immediate next quarter's reporting that we are likely to see? Thank you so much for taking us through all those details, Mr. Thiagarajan. But that's about the consumer durable space, and more importantly the air conditioning space. But let's take a more macro view. Let's get in the market voice on what the